So, hello and welcome back to Behind the Curve Collecting. So, I just wanted to make a short video at the beginning of 2026 in the hope of creating some sort of goals for myself for the year. Now, this is to do with my gaming, my collection, the space where I do all this in, as well as for YouTube as well. Now, I'm going to try and hold myself somewhat accountable, and I might try and reflect on this later on in the year, but a year is a very long time, especially when the things that you want to do change every 5 minutes, seemingly. So, last year, without actually sitting down and making any goals for myself, as it were, I didn't write anything down last year. Didn't form any sort of plan when it came to YouTube and making videos and my game collection. I went into it thinking, right, other YouTubers that I watched at the time, which I'll try and emulate, can put out a video, maybe two a week, right? And I didn't think about that at all at the time. Whether, it's their part-time job, they're getting paid to do these things, or maybe they're getting paid and sponsored. Um, I didn't really click over a year. That could well be 100 videos, and it's just not something that would be sustainable. Now, early on in the year, I did kind of front load my channel a little bit of a load of videos, and I did actually count them all. And I managed to put out 52 videos. Now, on the face of it, you think, great, you've averaged a video a week. Well done, you. But when you look at the actual analytics on my YouTube channel, I front loaded that big time. I did a lot of videos in around springtime or early part of the year because there was a later part of the year. There was actually weeks in between some of my uploads, which was quite comical to see. I still managed to somehow apparently put out 52 videos. But I am generally pretty happy with what I did last year, considering it was my first full push year. I have had the channel for like 2 to 3 years now, just completely on and off, messing around, just doing a few things here and there. And I'm generally somewhat happy and proud of what I did put out, considering that I have no education or training and none of the video making process is something that I am familiar, trained, or educated in whatsoever. I don't do any sort of speaking. I don't do any sort of script writing. I'm not in a creative industry. I'm not technical in that I don't do editing and things like that. And I'm aware that as the person that does all of these things, I am the weak link in the chain, and that I need to do better. And that's something that I do aim to do this year. I would like to put out less videos, which sounds like the wrong thing to do, but I want to have higher quality videos. I want to be able to give myself the time to breathe, to think of an idea or the next game or the next thing that I want to do, into actually just calmly approach it with time. That's the biggest constraint, the resource that goes into these things is time. And you're trying to rush out a video or two a week and just trying to get it out and not scheduling them at all. Just like, all right, I've rendered this video, I've edited it, rendered it, I'll put it out today. That's another one up. Well done me, pat myself on the back. I can relax for a few days. That's the wrong way to go about it. Let's try and take a more passionate approach. There's a phrase that I keep coming back to. This room, this channel, my videos, they're an expression of me. And whilst people might not be able to relate, maybe they're not nostalgic in the same ways that I am about some of these things, maybe they're a different generation, or maybe they don't agree with some of the things that I do, it is, on the whole, an expression of me and my hobby, and I shouldn't let the collection that I have control me, and I shouldn't let other people's like fads and opinions influence what I want to do on my channel. Sometimes I will watch other YouTubers that do these things, much larger YouTubers, but I don't make a habit of it. I don't go out there hunting for other people that are doing exactly the same thing as me and seeing what they're doing and trying to jump on any bandwagons, as it were. This is all pretty natural. But I came across someone's video yesterday. YouTube recommended it to me. And I was like, I recognize that guy. I think I saw like his first video early 2025, and it was like a CEX haul video. And I watched it for a few minutes. I was like, yeah, fair play. It's probably done as good a job as I have. He's kept my attention for a few minutes and I've clicked off. Okay, I know my viewer attention isn't that strong. But this video was only a few days old and it's already had 5,000 views. And I was watching it, I was like, this is just a talking to camera piece. There is no gameplay, there's no haul, there's no pickups, there's no inserts of clips or anything like that. This is just a well polished, thought about, kind of like scripted, well put together video. I don't know how far he had come in terms of progression or growth in terms of his video creation, because anything older than 3 months was hidden. Now, I remember watching this guy, a year ago, and he's got on his channel like my first year on YouTube, that kind of thing. I just thought this is a really good video, and there's a lot of things that resonated with me in that video. I think I might as well name the guy. I'm giving some props, some kudos. There's no point withholding that information. I think it was Kieran Collects. What resonated with me was kind of like the guilt. You're on YouTube and you're doing these pickups and things. You're collecting these games, and when there's a lot going on, you've got a full-time job and things, and whatever else is going into life these days. That a lot of the time, sitting down gaming can be the last thing you do in a day, and sometimes just too damn tired. A lot of the time, rather than coming out here I'll get onto it later, but quite an overwhelming space for me. Like 8 o'clock when I might have like an hour before I want to go to bed and get up for the gym. And the last thing I want to do is come out here and then choose a game. I'll sit inside and I'll just put some YouTube on. I'll be on the sofa just for an hour, and I just want my brain to decompress after the day before I go to bed. There's a lot of guilt there. You're buying all these games and you're telling people all about them, and then you're never actually playing the games. I think in his case, like completing them. And there's a lot of guilt over that. And you've got to not let it get to you, but it does. This year, I think this is a similar approach to what he was doing, kind of like a more curated collection of the games that he wants to play. Now, I resonated massively with that. And for me, slightly different angle. I want to just have the games that I want to play. For a couple of years now, as this has been my like game shed, as it were, I've just had like bulk volume of games, and coming in here, it is very overwhelming to just choose a game to play and put any time into that particular game. So that's where I'm coming from, and I want to take a much more deliberate approach to the games that I do buy in 2026. There's some things holding me back right now to create that video where I do kind of like a games room overhaul, or I don't know whether curating is the right word, but I think that is a bit of a buzzword, where I'm just choosing the games that I want and kind of just minimizing what's on display, so I'm not so overwhelmed or guilt-ridden that I have 100 games here, but I've only played 3 of them, and that kind of thing. So back to the actual gaming aspect of it. Some of these games, for example, I've recently put away like a box full of 360 games, but this Billy bookcase has been, I think, 3 shelves of 360 for like a year now. I got into 360 big time a little before that whole like marketplace is shutting down. Oh no, get onto a 360, but that pushed me to keep going on 360 at the time. And then obviously the prices skyrocketed, but only because the marketplace was shutting down. A lot of those prices on 95% of those games seem to be as low as ever now, as cheap as ever. And since that happened, I've not touched it. I think last year, my last 360 game that I played must have been Star Trek Legacy. I did a few shorts on that, and I spent like a lot of time on that. I think I got all the achievements possible to get, like now in 2020, then 2025. Now that it's offline, there's no online achievements that you can get. And I played through that game like 4 times to make sure that I got all of the achievements I possibly could. I had a lot of fun doing it, even though it's a very jank game, so jank. But it was a lot of fun, and I remember doing pretty much that exact same thing while I had it on 360 back when I was like 16. I don't think I got all the achievements, but I played through it multiple times, even though there wasn't that much replayability, just achievement hunting. And that's the last time I've touched 360. So yeah, coming in here when in life it feels like everything and everyone is vying for your time, your most like important resource. A full-time job, got 2 young kids, there's things going on. I've got other like hobbies and interests as well. I do like to go to the gym, and I'm trying to keep myself motivated at least. I'd like to get back into go-karting this year, funds allowing, that kind of thing. It's always someone's birthday. There's always 10 mundane decisions that need to be made every single day. What you're having for dinner and making sure the kids are packed off with everything they need every day, yada, 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 yada. And sometimes it feels like the last thing I can think about is relaxing and making changes in here, thinking of new ideas for videos and more games that I'd like, and how I'm going to save up or finance for those types of things, by, selling something else on, whatever it might be. Everything's vying for my attention, so I should probably focus on a much smaller collection of things so it's much less overwhelming for me mentally. And so on to the room itself. Now, this has been a massive issue, and I've so much difficulty knowing where to start and knowing what emotions I feel when I come in here. Now, I've had this shed, this is just a very basic timber shed. I've had this for, I think, nearly coming up 5 years now. It's not always been a man cave or gaming collection room or anything like that. For a long time, it was just a room, storage and crap and rubbish and things. and old furniture, and it was an absolute mess in here. Um, and I'm very lucky. I do want to acknowledge that I'm incredibly lucky to have this space, to have a room that is now, for all intents and purposes, dedicated to what I want it to be, which is a gaming collection room, a gameplay room, stuff that I can just come and chill out, whatever. But I do need to take a minute to say how it makes me feel. This place is so rough around the edges. As far as I'm aware, it's like the cheapest way to create another room within your household, as it were. You know, an extension's incredibly expensive, a proper structure or a really well built timber, you know, outdoor room, whatever. It's really expensive. And this is just like a timber shed with some crappy plastic windows in. And I think actually built and installed and delivered everything was like £1,200. But a couple of guys that turned up, it took them half hour to nail it together, bang, done. And I think in total, my mum and I spent some money on putting insulation in all of the voids between the battens. And then we boarded it with like the thinnest, cheapest board that we could, which was a mistake because it all wants to just bend and it has no structure, so you can't screw into it at all. We did all that, we painted it all and everything. I had some like excess carpet from the house, which has just been like put down in here. Yeah, it's really, really rough around the edges. And after now 5 years, there's so many places where I've tried to put shelves up or put things on the wall or do this, move that. And I come in here and I just see, oh, this place is rough. It needs like renovating, rejuvenating. It needs a refresh. And I move things around to try and make myself happy for a while that, this is nice and peaceful. But I just always see it. And I'm always so conscious of what you can see on the video as well, that I know you can see some of this jank in here. It's not a nice place, you know. I looked it up last year to see how much I might need to save if I wanted to rip this thing down and get like a properly installed one that was already insulated with thicker materials, with actual glazing in the windows, ever so slightly bigger. I think it was around £7,000 or £8,000 at the low end. It's very easy to go to some of these like websites that'll you know, it'll cost you like 15, 20 grand. And it's just like mental. Like, I'm never going to have that amount of money that I personally saved up unless I come into money somehow. That is just beyond my reality. So yeah, at the time, it was what funds allowed, and it created an outdoor space. But coming in here, being overwhelmed by like the amount of like bulk games and things and stuff that I have in here, and then seeing like all of the gaps and all the edges and things between all of the boards and all the bowing and this, that, and the other, and knowing that there's not a huge amount I can do about it, I'm slowly putting together plans for this place. And there's going to be a lot of steps involved. I would like to make a video of it, but it's probably going to take me a very long time. I need to wait to payday, order like a load of like cover strips and like edgings and things, and like I guess like coving, so I can put all that around the edges. Probably take a lot of stuff down, move a lot of things around. You know, fill and sand and paint, and just a lot of things. Going to take a lot of time. So I'm not quite sure whether I'll be able to record all of that, because it will involve taking days off of work, no doubt, and a fair bit of money to do. But I would like to, or at least at the very end, if I don't manage to film the entire process, I can have like a small games room tour, as well as like a let's curate the things that I want in my shed for this time. Now, what's kind of kickstarted this whole like, I need to do something about this room is, I'll take some footage of it later because I don't think you can quite see it in its entirety, this Lego display cabinet. Now, I had the absolute idiotic idea late last year, because I did have my wife's desk here. This was a shared space with my wife last year. It was kind of half, 50-50. And she works from home every now and again, which means electric radiators on, and it costs, you know, a good few pound every day for her to be in here, especially during winter. So I had the great idea thinking, you know what, we could get your desk inside, you know, once we've taken the Christmas tree down, put your desk inside in the lounge, and you'll be happier, and our son will be happier when he's at home as well, and it's dark, so he won't have to come out here with you because he's a little bit scared and stuff. You'll be in the house, you'll be warm, you won't have to come out, you know, when it's pissing it down, the rain or whatever. And that'd be better for you. And in exchange, in its place where your desk will go, will come this large Lego cabinet. And I'm thinking that desk is so much more, takes up so much more floor space, that I'll be quids in terms of space available to me. I didn't take into account, I didn't measure anything. I didn't take into account that Hogwarts is on top of it. We have the Hogwarts castle, which doesn't really fit anywhere in the house. which unfortunately means that it had entirely dictated this room in the Christmas move around that I did in here, because it pretty much has to go right slap bang in the middle at the apex of the ceiling, because that's the only place that'll accommodate it with it on top. So yeah, and moving everything, I'm just not happy. I can't visualize a way in which I would be happy with that thing right there and everything else around it. I've had to take down like 4 shelves because the battens that I can screw into are only every 600 mil, and where this has to live, it means that I only have 1 batten here. I can't put a shelf up with like 1 bracket. I just don't think that's going to work. So I've just been like, how am I going to get around this? What can I do now that I've lost so much shelf space? So I think I've had a little look today. I think I can relocate Hogwarts to my son's room. He's got like one of these like small calyxes, those like IKEA calyx thingies, and he's not really got anything on top of it. Now, my wife has made sure that he is a Harry Potter fan, so I'm sure he'll be more than happy to have this thing sat in the corner of his room, so like it does anything, and which will then allow me to place this anywhere, apart from in front of a window, obviously, place this anywhere in the room, which will then open up my ideas. Hopefully, fingers crossed, like seriously. I got it all in here and thought, oh, I've made a mistake here. The desk in there is great, but I've made a mistake, like big time. I do like Lego, but my wife's the one that's a fanatic about it and loves building it and spending far too much money on it. So this is mostly her stuff. It's all bloody Harry Potter. That little sod, just it's been an ongoing thing in my life for like 10 years now, that guy. Moving on. The problem is, because I'm so inexperienced and not good at DIY, and I'm not immediately somewhat good at something, I don't get it. I really don't like it. So I'm really bad at DIY, basically. I will mess anything up. So I don't do much of it and I'm bad at it. But because I'm inexperienced, that also means I'm not aware of the options available to me in a shed where I can only screw into battens. Like on these walls, I think it's 2 meters. So I've only got 3 battens that I can actually screw into here, which is exactly where these shelf brackets are. This little bit of ply, no structural rigidity at all to it. You could screw a screw into that and just pull it out, basically. It's bloody awful, but I don't know what I can do about that. Apart from, I did do some Googling, and what I came across was something called ledger boards. And I think it's more of like a structural term, but I think the same theory applies. So what you would do is you'd have like a piece of flat timber, not too substantial and heavy, obviously, but a piece of flat timber laid horizontally, screwed into the battens, which should very securely hold it, at which point you would then be able to screw anywhere in along the board. But I'd only want maybe a couple of those, at which point that then dictates at which height you can screw in shelves. So I'm very hesitant about that, because the amount of times I've moved these shelves and put more holes in these walls is beyond fingers that I have on my hands. So very hesitant about that one, but I do want to just, get all these gaps covered, get things sanded down, maybe a fresh lick of paint here and there. It's never going to be good, but I might be able to get it to the point where I'm not unhappy. It doesn't literally make me a bit sad when I come in here. It's supposed to be a happy space, but you're seeing this, that, and the other, and just, yeah, I imagine a tradesman coming in here just thinking, Jesus Christ, this is bad. But yeah, that aim, what I'm trying to create is just more of a cozy gaming space for myself, with a much more deliberate and curated collection. And rather than jumping on bandwagons and trying things, like, I'm not against trying things like the N64. I'm glad I have that, and it didn't cost me too much to get into it. But I never had one, so I've not got the nostalgia behind it, or the whole like. It felt like a gateway to game collection. Like, this is what I need. My backwards compatible PS3. I never had one of those. I don't really need it. I do have now PS1, and I do have a PS2 somewhere, and I have more than one PS3. I don't really need that. It's cool to have it. It cost a lot of money, but it felt like you need one in your collection if you to call yourself a game collector, but I don't. I'm not saying I'm going to get rid of it. But yeah, so that's kind of like my 2026 log entry there of what I want to do in this space with my goals. So let's try and recap off the top of my head here. So YouTube. Whilst obviously subscribers always going up is good and hopefully indicative of reaching more people and doing a somewhat okay job, I want to put out, on the face of it, less videos, but with a more polished and quality output within time, monetary, and skill constraints, obviously. I will try and educate myself a little bit more in terms of, I don't know, creating a scene and lighting and videography, and I'm always trying to get a little bit better at editing and all that kind of thing. And I do find it interesting, but I don't always remember to do all these little things. That is another thing with YouTube where I do struggle because I'll forget all these little things. I don't just have like a checklist on my head, right, make sure I'm mic'd up, right, make sure I've got some light, right, make sure I've created a little scene for myself, right, make sure I've actually thought about what I'm going to say before I say it. Because it then reflects back in the editing process when I end up having to inevitably end up watching myself through several times in order to create one video. I'll then see that this isn't good, or I've forgotten to put my mic on, so it's just bad audio, or the video looks poor. I can sense my lack of enthusiasm or cohesiveness to whatever story I'm trying to tell because I've not really thought about it beforehand. I've just gone, right, video idea, sit down, record video. And that's job mostly done, but it's really not. There's a lot more to it. So a little bit more time spent on individual projects to create a more better output. Okay. And then next goal, a more deliberate approach to my game collection and what I buy and what I keep and what I display, as well as a more relaxed approach to gaming, not feeling so guilt-ridden when it comes to not playing and completing all of these games that I'm inevitably buying. You know, last year I probably picked up maybe not a huge number of games, but I don't know, maybe 50 games. And I probably played like 10 of them, you know, Road Rash 2 and a lot of Mega Drive. Because it's accessible, you can turn it on, you don't need to do anything or download anything. But yeah, my Nintendo 64 games, most of the PS1 games I picked up, and the Mega Drive games, because there's no updates or any nonsense or any accounts. You can just put the cartridge into the disc in and play the game. So that was very easy to get into. There was less steps involved. Yeah, a more relaxed approach to my gaming with a lot less pressure on myself to do it. And then thirdly, creating a space in which I am more happy and less overwhelmed. So I'm overwhelmed by the sheer bulk and amount of games and the inability to choose a game that I would want to just play or talk about or to display or whatever it might be, as well as creating a space in which I'm more comfortable and just trying to put a little bit more finish into the shed as best I can. It's never going to be fantastic or luxury or a quality product, but just tidy it up a little bit. So I'm a little less ashamed of it when it comes to looking at it back in my recordings. Yeah, pretty much sums it up. So I hope some of that resonates with my audience, with you, and maybe inspires you to do something similar. Maybe a different approach is needed. And occasionally I do need to watch other people's videos that are in roughly the same position or a very similar position, because that video that I did watch did resonate a lot, and it's really kickstarted my thought of, you know what, it does need to be the other way around. I don't want any YouTube fads or algorithms or clicks controlling my collection, because this is my hobby and my passion, and ultimately everything that I display and put out is an expression of myself. And this is pretty much a nostalgic fueled adventure, right? I'm trying to relive those memories and rekindle those memories and go, oh yeah, I remember that now because I've heard some music. I need that back in my life because that is attached to a good memory. I remember that from my childhood and it was a good time. And I want more of those things in this bleak adulthood that we live in. So please do like, comment, and subscribe if you've seen anything you've liked here today. And I do hope to see you in my next video. Thank you so much for watching.